There are some things that happen in life that are just too big for one person to handle.
You need teachers, you need guidance, you need instructions, you need little signposts along the way that help you figure out where you're going. I mean, would you drive from here to the southern tip of California without a map? No. And yet we think we can go through life without asking for directions.
When you get caught up in the depression and the drugs, it just makes you focus only on your problems. Your problems are the end of the world. No one else cares. Nothing else matters. It's just, I need something to make these problems go away. And that's a lot of where, like, if you tell someone what you're going through, they might not understand, but then they can get you the help from people who do understand.
It's not wrong to have suicidal thoughts. It's natural part of growing up. Sometimes it doesn't seem like there's a way out. Let's talk about it. Let's get a family member involved. Let's get a friend involved. Let's get a teacher involved and have a network of people so that on a given day you feel that, you come to one of us. No questions asked, no guilt on your part, no fear on your part, and no judgments on our part.
Be as willing to talk about it publicly as we are about cancer or AIDS or anything else that used to be in the closet. Let's make sure that we get this conversation out there so a young person won't be afraid to tell us that they're suffering for fear of being judged. I think we can start doing that by realizing that mental health issues are as important as physical health issues. There is mental pain and the same as there's physical pain. We have all kinds of tools to help someone that's experiencing mental health difficulty.
So like the first thing I would recommend if you think you're depressed is call the crisis line or tell your parents. You got to tell someone right away. You can't live with this by yourself.
There's no easy way, so reach out to a friend and they'll take your hand. You won't walk this road.
I personally can get really in a spin in my head. I can grab hold of an idea and spin it around and around and around until I've woven it into this crazy truth that really doesn't resemble reality. And as long as I stay in my head, it'll just keep making me crazy.
You want to find a way to get that stuff out. And if the way you're getting it out isn't working, then you find a way that works.
Being sad in front of you and my heart is breaking and crying and whatever, exposing my emotions to you means that I'm real and I'm human and I'm flawed and I'm afraid and I get lonely just like you do. I don't know, to me that's strength. I'm demonstrating that I'm okay with who I am and that I'm not perfect all the time. And I'm not going to be ever.
For me, it was never easy, but once I realized that I wasn't being judged, and more often than not, the person that I was speaking to knew from experience what I was talking about, it made it a little bit easier, you know?
I think when someone actually took you seriously, and it wasn't a comparison of stories anymore, it wasn't, oh, I understand how you feel, my mom said this, it was finally, she was asking about me, the focus was on me. She wasn't identifying with it, she wasn't trying to do that, she was pushing me to think about my own story.
So these moments of sitting down in a room with my counselor and saying, I'm messed up right now, my head is all over the place and I don't know how to make any sense of this and I'm really feeling bad about me right now. Can you help me sort this out? And it's amazing how this person can sit you down and say, okay, slow down.
You just need to clear your mind and work through them.
I think the talk therapy has been quite beneficial, but most of the support that I found outside of a formal treatment team was through other individuals that have gone through similar experiences, and that type of small support group is really critical to recovery because people can understand what you've been through, and it really is an extension of self-help when you have somebody you can talk with that can actually relate to your experience.
What's brilliant about us as human beings is we all have different ideas and perspectives and opinions, and so in order to be fully rounded and figure out where you fit into all of that, you need access to all of those other people's different ideas and beliefs and ways of being in the world, so you can sort of, I think, formulate your own puzzle.
And so even if that big problem did not lead to a mental health problem, as a diagnosable mental illness, that person having the opportunity to talk it out with somebody that they felt they could trust would be very useful to helping them to move past whatever it was that happened, but not to move past it blindly, to move past it advisedly, knowing how to protect themselves better in the future.
It's the suffering in silence which is the biggest problem. So when something's identified, it's saying, okay, then there are things we can do about this. If it's a mental illness is actually treatable. There are many things that we can do to either eliminate the suffering or decrease it significantly. Put things in place so that the quality of life doesn't get shattered.
It's the space in the trees, it's the light, not the girls, 'cause it's your life. Do whatever you do.
I always just figured that I would just feel horrible for my whole life, that this was what life was all about.
You really have to want it. If you want it and you're committed to not so much fixing yourself, but developing coping strategies, I mean, the world's at your feet afterwards. You know, you have just as many opportunities as anybody else. And this might sound strange, but I think mental illness is a beautiful thing. I think having to deal with something, I really think it enriches your life. With the tools I've learned through stress management and my anxiety and challenging my obsessive thoughts before they manifest in some crazy ritual I have to do, like not turning left, you know, you learn how to deal with other problems. So counseling and stuff like that isn't even just fixing your mental illness and learning how to deal with it. They're tools for life.
You didn't get to that place overnight. You can't expect to undo it with the swoop of a magic wand. It doesn't work that way. It's a long process.
When you get there, you don't see immediate results, but what you do see are little accomplishments. It's like climbing Mount Everest. You don't think, okay, it'll take me how many days, X number of days to get to the top. You think, okay, it's gonna take me one day to get here. You know, it's really important not to look at the big picture with something like that, but look at the little steps.
Back then, I didn't know it was possible to be this happy. I feel happy all the time. Even when sad things happen. Underneath it, I'm a happy person. And then what I realized and what kept being validated for me is the more I change, the more the world changes in response to me. If I smile at you, you smile back. So I'm proud of the fact that I learned that, and that it didn't take me till I was 60 or 70 or 80 that I started to figure it out quite young, because now, you know, I turn 40 next year and I have the opportunity to really live a full, brilliant, phenomenal life, and I've probably got 50 years left in me, you know, full of joy. Like, think about that. It's unbelievable.
Maybe the best way for me to describe it is finally feeling like I'm worth something and that I'm useful in the world.
It feels like, yeah, I'm alive again.
It's like pure magic. It's for me pretty much 100% of the time. I feel like like everything I ever wished for and everything I could have ever wanted, I have.
The life you have now isn't the life you're always gonna have.
There's no reason to end your life. The problems can be worked through, no matter how big or small.
It's about admitting you've got an issue to deal with and finding out how to deal with it. There are resources. It may not be the first resource you pick, but there are resources that will lead you to other things. There are always answers and always people willing to help. You just have to put in the effort and find them.
I don't think you can ask too many times. If you know you need it, just don't give up until you find someone that's going to be there for you. I mean, it's hard as I say that because I'm aware that someone who's in that place is struggled to ask for the help in the first place and struggles to believe that they matter. So to continue having to go back and be the one that's responsible for asking, you know, to find the right person is a challenge. But you got to do it. I mean, I think that's the only way. It's just don't give up.
I've learned the truth about suicide is that it doesn't end the pain, but instead transfers it over to everyone around, having a far more devastating impact than you would ever imagine. If you or someone you know are struggling with thoughts of suicide, take the first step and reach out and talk to someone.